بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. It is Wednesday, the 5th of June 2022, and in our series Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 289. And this is chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, verse 97, and part 3 of our discussion of the meanings of the words of this verse of the Holy Quran. Just to remind you that these broadcasts are brought to you by the Lahore Ahmadiyya community, which was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Rahmatullah Alayh. His teaching was that although people want to bring another prophet after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Quran says that he was Khatamun Nabiyyin, and the Holy Prophet explained the meaning of this term himself by saying, La Nabiyya Ba'di, there is no prophet after me. So now no prophet will come. Whether an old prophet or a new one, no prophet will come. However, the Holy Prophet also said that when the Ummah, when the Muslim people need guidance, God will send reformers. And one reformer, he gave the titles of Messiah and Mahdi. And we believe that Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was that Mujaddid, the Messiah and the Mahdi. Now, there is, of course, a difference of opinion on this. Some accept it, others don't. But that does not mean that either party are heretics or kafirs or have gone out of Islam. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said that if a reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima that you're a heretic, you're a kafir, then it is the person saying it who is closer to heresy. So strict are the strictures and injunctions against calling each other heretics. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also taught us that although some people say that part of the prophetic revelation that was sent to the Holy Prophet is missing from the Holy Quran, this is incorrect. He said, all the prophetic revelation that the Holy Prophet received is with us in the form of Holy Quran. He also said that no verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated, as people believe. And he also said that jihad is a fundamental duty of every Muslim. But jihad is defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, not as defined by other people. And in returning from fighting, the Holy Prophet said, from the minor jihad, we return to the major jihad, and explained that the major jihad is a jihad with your own souls, jihad with your own desires. And that is the real jihad. With that, let us turn to the verse of the Holy Quran that we've been talking about. As I said, chapter 2, verse 97. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل من كان عدوا لجبريل فإنه نزله على قلبك بإذن الله مصدقا لما بين يديه وهدى وبشرى للمؤمنين. Say, whoever is an enemy of Jibreel, surely he revealed it to your heart by Allah's command, verifying that which is before it, and a guidance and glad tidings for the believers. Yesterday, in the last broadcast, we were talking about the word nazalahu, and we didn't quite finish that. So I'll carry on with that. So let us turn to it. As I said, that its triliteral root is Nun Ze Lam, and it occurs 293 times in the Holy Quran in that form. It appears in the Holy Quran in 12 different forms derived from this. For example, 183 times in the form Anzala, and 62 times Nazzala, and so on. And we had started looking at the meanings of this word, and we were considering that God speaks about the Holy Quran and revelation coming down from on high. It's nuzul. Now, many people say that the prophethood has now ended. Quite correctly. The Holy Prophet was the last prophet. No new prophet can come after him. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't communicate with his creatures anymore. For example, the Holy Quran says that God sends wahi to the honeybee. So does it mean that after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, honeybees have stopped making honey because God no longer reveals anything to them? And this is a point that is worth stressing, that yes, prophetic revelation has indeed come to an end. Revelation of the prophets has come to an end because prophethood has come to an end. It's like if England breaks off diplomatic relations with France, and you have the last ambassador to France is recalled to the UK. Now, diplomatic relations with France have come to an end. That official source of communication is finished. It doesn't mean that governments don't talk to each other. Those talks don't have the same status, the same position as communication through diplomatic channels, but they still take place. They're unofficial. And it's the same here. God does speak to human beings. When they pray, he replies. When they're distressed and they pray to him, he gives them peace. He calms them, etc., etc. And this is why I took this word, because it's used, nuzul, sending down from on high, and in many places it is used to mean sending down from on high of God's message. But the Holy Quran says, for example, in chapter 23, verse 29, Anzilni munzalam mubarakam wa anta khairul munzili. This is a prayer to God, that you know which is the best place for us to descend. So descend us on a place which is a blessed place. What does descend mean here? Well, people are not going to come down from on high. It means, take us, put us, place us in a place that is good. And in many other things, Quran talks about nuzul, it descending. Alhamdulillahi allazi anzala ala abdihil kitab. Chapter 18, verse 1. All praise is for Allah, who descended, anzala, whose book descended upon his servant. Now we know that what didn't happen was that a book like the one you saw me hold and read the verse of the Holy Quran from, that it came down on the Holy Prophet Muhammad's shoulders or his head or whatever. But it was God's guidance and God's message that was sent down through the agency of Hazrat Jibreel, the angel Gabriel, Ruhul Amin, Holy Spirit. And this is, again, this argument is strengthened when we look at verses like chapter 57, verse 25. وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدَ, and he made iron descend. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ. Same verse. And descended upon them books. He made descend upon them books and a balance. Balance, the thing with which you weigh things. Now here, balance does not mean that physical balance. It means justice. But all of these things, iron doesn't descend from heavens, books don't descend, although the Holy Quran says books descended on them from heaven. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ, and books descended on them from heaven. Pre-printed bound books don't descend from heaven. God's guidance is meant here. Anzala minas samai ma'an tahura. Chapter 25, verse 28. And from heavens descends pure water. Now, is that water descending from this time? Water does physically, literally descend. It comes down from the clouds. Anzala minas samai. From skies, from heavens, pure water descends. Then it goes on. Qad anzalna alaykum libasan yuwari sawatikum. And then we made dress descend upon you to cover you. That will be very convenient, wouldn't it? If you just went out into the back garden or front garden or whatever, whenever you needed any clothes, and they just descended from heaven. But they don't. You have to go and either buy ready-made suits or go and buy cloth and go to a tailor and get measured up and have a cloth made and so on. And this has happened throughout the history of mankind. Although God says that I may descend clothing for you, it doesn't physically descend from heaven. Chapter 5, verse 114. Anzil alayna ma'idatam minas samai. Make descend from heaven food for us. Again, when we're talking about these, it's God making these things available to us. In some cases, it is true when it talks about rain. It does descend from the clouds, not from heavens, but from the clouds. But all the other things, God just makes available to us the resources, how we can get these. But then it's up to us. If we hang around thinking, oh, God said, food is going to come from heavens, or clothes are going to come from heavens, and don't do anything, well, nothing's going to come and cover you up and so on, or fill you up. Although in chapter 2, verse 90, God says, أَن يُنَزِّلَ اللَّهُ مِن فَضْلِهِ عَلَى مَن يَشَاءُ. It's up to God upon whomsoever He wants. He makes descend His blessings, His fazl. So you can see how many different ways this word is used. But you have to use your common sense. Now, when God says in chapter 26, verse 193, Nazala bihir Ruhul Amin, and Ruhul Amin, Gabriel, a faithful servant, descended with it, we know that God is talking about His guidance, that an angel who was not going to corrupt it, interpolate something else in it, brought it down. And you see here, God says, Inna nahnu nazzalna zikra, chapter 15, verse 9. And there's no doubt that nazzalna, this book was revealed, this book descended. God made this book descend. But you see, God is talking about his guidance, because we know that Quran wasn't compiled in the form that we have it at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. It was written down. The whole of it in this form was written down. But it was revealed piecemeal. But then we also have ثُمَّ أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ سَكِينَتَهُ عَلَى رَسُولِهِ وَعَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And then on his messengers, Rasul, and the believers, Mu'mineen, he makes descend contentment and peace. Now this is something psychological. Contentment and peace, sakina. The lack of stress is not something physical that comes down, but it's something psychological. So you can see then when God is talking about something descending, it can be physical, like iron and clothes and food and so on. And it can be something psychological, like hair. And God says that, angels that you could not see descended with that contentment. And then again, Quran Sharif says, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakah. Chapter 24, verse 2. And it was a blessed night. Laylatin mubarak. Mubarak, blessed. Layla, night. We revealed it. Now we know that the Holy Quran wasn't revealed on one night. It was revealed piecemeal. Again, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, chapter 97, verse 1. And it was Laylatul Qadr, when we revealed the Quran. Now most translators here would say when we started revealing the Quran, but literally when we revealed the Quran. We revealed in Inna Anzalna, we revealed fi, in the night of majesty, Shab-e Qadr. But as I said, it was revealed piecemeal, because elsewhere the Holy Quran says that the Holy Quran was revealed slowly. One or two commandments at a time. And people have tried to come up with very fancy stories. And they say that, well, Quran is in the form of a whole book, and God sent it from heavens, and much like today's satellites, it sort of orbited the earth, and then whatever the need was, a bit was taken and brought down. But all these are fanciful stories, because first we make up something, and then to justify that, we then come up with these stories. Those who add, we started revealing, explain this very simply, that when the Holy Quran says we revealed it doesn't mean that we revealed the whole of it, but that we started revealing it. The process began on that night, which is a much simpler explanation than all this thing about the Quran orbiting the earth and then being brought down bit by bit over a period of time, and so on. Even in the same verse, you have to differentiate. Qad anzalallahu ilaykum zikran rasulan yatlu alaykum ayatillah. Chapter 65, verses 10 and 11. God sent you guidance in a book, and he sent you messengers, Rasulan, who recite this in front of you. Now here, the same word is being used in the same verse of the Holy Quran for two different things. The prophets came, but they didn't descend from heavens, like in, using a parachute. They were born, they grew up, and then they received a revelation from God saying that he has chosen them to guide humanity. And then they sent the book, but the book is sent in a different way. The angel goes to the prophet and says, this is God's guidance on this matter. And the prophet then tells the people, this is what God says. And if we keep this verse in mind, verse 97, chapter 4, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ. And that descend angels and spirits, to whom he has entrusted various tasks, and they descend by his order. So this is God's order that has to be implemented. And there is something that is making sure that it is. But in every instance, in every situation, it's not the same force, it's not the same angel, it's not the same rule, it's not the same law. And this is, I stress this because this misconception that has arisen, that when people talk about Nazul al-Masih, that is Jesus descending from the clouds, that, I don't know whether he'll have a parachute or not, but he'll descend upon this minaret in Damascus and etc., etc. But all God was saying, in my view, was that a time will come when Muslims, intellectually speaking, educationally speaking, religiously speaking, will be in trouble. And they will need help. And God will provide that help. He'll provide the resources, the human resources. Just like when God says, and I send down iron from the heavens, or I send down clothing from heavens, it doesn't mean that clothing or iron physically actually came down. This suit didn't come down from heavens. I had to go and pay for it. It's the same with Jesus. That he was going to make resources available in a similar way. And those resources were that he gave Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh the arguments to counter not only Christianity but all religions and establish predominance of Islam over other religions intellectually. And this is what people miss, and they take the whole thing to be a literal physical thing with Jesus coming down and killing all the non-Muslims and etc., etc. And this is a very dangerous concept because it leads to laziness. I don't have to do anything. I'll just wait for Jesus to come back and he will put everything right. Why should I bother? And that is why Muslims have fallen behind. And that is why that concept needed to be counted. And this is why I've stressed on this so much. I mean, there was a lot more. In fact, with every word of the Holy Quran, you can perhaps have 4 or 5 broadcasts on that, but that will only mean that we talk about the grammatical and dictionary finer points and niceties, and this is not the purpose here. We're just trying to see what message the Holy Quran brought for us. So just like iron didn't descend from heavens, although the Quran says, I made it descend, in the same way Jesus will not descend from heavens. God simply said, I will make things available to you to counter Christian attacks upon Islam. And that resource was Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, and he was given the title of the Messiah because he was going to save Islam just as the original Messiah tried to save Judaism. With a prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm. I take my leave of you. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.